Before diving into the video, did you know that over 80% of you watching right now aren't subscribed? Your one like and one subscribe means the absolute world to this channel and helps us keep going. Hit those buttons real quick and let's get into the video. Chapter 1. The Confession Diverted. Just as I was about to confess my feelings to my childhood friend Elena, strange floating comments suddenly appeared before my eyes. No, just thinking about the second male lead getting publicly rejected by the heroine gives me chest pains. What kind of garbage plot is this? Does the second male lead really have to mistake the wrong person for his savior and keep letting the heroine torment him? There's nothing we can do. The villainess may be the one who saved him and secretly loved him for 10 years, but she refuses to communicate. Who would have guessed that the aloof school beauty secretly hires people to beat up the heroine every day, yet can't bring herself to say a single word to the second male lead in person? Second male lead, turn around and look at the villainess. The poor girl is becoming seriously twisted. Reading this, I silently turned around and shoved the bouquet of flowers into the arms of the aloof school beauty standing beside me. Her gaze was dark and brooding. "Seraphina, do you like me?" Seraphina froze, her entire body going completely rigid. The floating comments instantly went wild with delight. Yes, the second male lead finally grew a brain. Seraphina's entire body stiffened for a moment, but in the next second, she regained her composure. She looked at me calmly and asked, "What do you mean, young Master Vance?" The floating comments flared up again. Why does the villainess never say what she feels? The second male lead probably has no idea that she's still sulking. The gorgeous villainess spent 3 hours getting ready for his birthday party today, only to have her invitation stolen. She almost couldn't get in. The second male lead saw the security guards throwing her out, but he did nothing and just let it happen. The poor girl was completely crushed. For God's sake, the school beauty is usually so proud, yet she climbed over a wall just to attend his birthday party. After finally getting in, she found the gift she'd spent months preparing tossed into the farthest corner. Forget her. I'd turn evil too. I froze. My family was extremely wealthy, so we had invited not only my classmates to my birthday party, but also members of many influential families. The butler had collected all the gifts together to prevent uninvited guests from sneaking in, and the security guards strictly checked everyone's invitations. As for Seraphina being thrown out, I was extremely nearsighted and had been rushing back to my room to put in my contact lenses, so I genuinely hadn't realized it was her. More comments continued to drift past. No. The villainess turns evil because the heroine publicly rejects and humiliates the second male lead, not because he ignores her. Exactly. The second male lead has never paid any attention to the villainess, yet she's still been secretly in love with him for over 10 years. She seems like the type who'd secretly enjoy it even if he slapped her. Right. The second male lead accidentally bumped into her once, and the gorgeous villainess spent the entire afternoon savoring the memory. Seraphina was famously aloof and quiet at school. Whenever I occasionally asked her to explain a problem to me, she barely said a word and wouldn't even look me in the eye. Could she really have been secretly in love with me all this time? While I was lost in thought, a slightly impatient voice interrupted me. "Julian, what are you up to now?" Elena looked up at me with a deep frown. The confession gift I had held out toward her had abruptly changed course and been shoved into Seraphina's arms instead, and she was clearly unhappy about it. The comments reacted immediately. Is the heroine insane? If he confesses to her, she'll only reject him. But when he doesn't confess, she still complains. The only reason the second male lead is so devoted to her is that she stole the villainess's credit for saving him. What gives her the right to act so arrogant? The most disgusting part is how her attitude changes after she discovers that his confession gift consists of shares in the Vance family business. She strings Julian Vance along, bleeds the Vance family dry, and once she gains control of everything, dumps him and happily marries the male lead, all while convincing herself that she endured everything for love. It makes me sick. I was completely stunned. Was Elena really that despicable? Seeing the displeasure written all over her face, I decisively stepped back to put distance between us, then casually wrapped an arm around Seraphina's shoulders. "I'm talking to the girl I like. What does it have to do with you?" Through the physical contact, I felt Seraphina tremble faintly before her entire body stiffened like steel. Chapter 2. The Face-Off. The comments went crazy. Holy crap, what did the second male lead just say? Has the plot changed? Is the villainess finally getting her chance? He once casually complimented her, and she was so happy she couldn't sleep all night. I can't even imagine how ecstatic she must be right now. The villainess may look expressionless, But just look at how red her ears are. That tells you exactly how thrilled she is. I discreetly glanced at her. Her ears really were bright red. Elena looked at Seraphina and asked mockingly, "You're in love with her now?" The displeasure on her face was replaced by disdain. "Fine by me. It would be best if no one ever clung to me in tears again, swearing that I was the only woman he would marry. Don't expect me to take you back when you regret this." A trace of ridicule flashed through her eyes. She clearly assumed this was merely another trick of mine to get her attention. To be fair, ever since I nearly drowned as a child and woke up to see Elena standing there soaking wet, I had believed she was the love of my life. I had pursued her devotedly for more than 10 years. She almost never responded to my advances, but she never rejected me outright either. Whenever people laughed at me and I wavered, Elena would give me a small smile, and I would fall for her all over again. Looking back, I wanted to slap myself. Watching the floating screen fill with comments cursing Elena, I sneered directly at her. "You actually believe that? Have you ever looked at yourself in a mirror? You have an awful personality and a terrible temper. In what way could you possibly compare to Seraphina? She gets better grades, she's kinder and more patient, she's prettier than you, and she has a better figure. She has more good qualities than I could ever count. And you think I'd marry you? I wouldn't want you even if you threw yourself at me." The commotion had attracted a growing crowd. Humiliated in front of everyone, Elena's expression darkened. She stepped forward and swung her hand to strike me. But before her hand could reach my face, someone seized her wrist in an iron grip. Seraphina stepped in front of me, restraining Elena with one hand and staring at her without emotion. "He likes me," Seraphina said, her voice dangerously low. "Are you jealous?" You. Elena was furious. She struggled with all her strength, veins bulging in her neck, but she couldn't break free from Seraphina's grip. If I wasn't mistaken, Elena had actually tried to grab me by the throat. The comments confirmed it. "I've had enough. Can someone bury this deranged heroine already? She's always grabbing people by the throat and threatening to kill them." Agreed. The heroine is seriously unhinged. But the gorgeous Villainess is so badass. I didn't even see her move, and she was already standing in front of the second male lead. Unable to bear it any longer, Elena wrenched her hand free and glared at me. "Julian, don't regret this." Chapter 3. Denial and Insecurity. "Not a chance in hell," I replied, lifting my chin defiantly and tightening my arm around Seraphina. Elena stormed off. Seraphina stood in silence for a moment before gently pulling herself out of my embrace. After a brief hesitation, she took a step to leave as well. The comments flooded the screen. "Ah, damn legs, who told you to move? Don't go." Does the Villainess think the second male lead is only using her to make the heroine jealous? She's just an insecure little kitten. She never believed he could actually like her. Gorgeous Villainess, I hate that you never say what you feel. The second male lead is a wealthy heir, while the Villainess is a fallen heiress. It makes sense that she can't bring herself to confess. I remembered that Seraphina's parents had been framed and her family had gone bankrupt over 10 years ago. It had been an uphill battle for her to make it this far. Without hesitation, I grabbed Seraphina just as she was stepping away. "Seraphina, where are you going?" Without looking back, she replied, "Back to school." I moved in front of her, leaning close. "But you still haven't answered my question." We were so close that I could see her delicate eyelashes flutter. "What question?" I gestured to the gift I had shoved into her arms. "You accepted my gift. So, do you like me?" Seraphina pressed her lips tightly together before answering. "No. I was only playing along with the situation. Don't misunderstand." She handed the gift back to me. The comments exploded. "Wait, do you even realize what you're saying? She's been secretly in love with him for 10 years and now says she doesn't like him? If the sky ever falls, her stubborn mouth could hold it up. Wonderful. She's the queen of denial. The Villainess is just terrified that the second male lead will hate her if he discovers how she feels. She did so much for him. Yet by the end of the original story, no one ever learned how deeply she loved him. Chapter 4. The Truth About the Past. Seraphina walked away without hesitation. I wondered if the floating comments were truly reliable. If Seraphina truly loved me, she was frighteningly good at hiding it. If she really was the person who saved me from drowning as a child, I had never even thanked her. I vividly remembered that day. The suffocating water filling my lungs, the current pulling me down, and a small hand gripping mine tightly, refusing to let go no matter how hard I dragged her down. Had that really been Seraphina? Why had Elena been the one standing over me soaking wet when I opened my eyes? Later that evening, after the party ended, My father called me via video from abroad. The comments reappeared. I don't want lots of money. I want lots of love. The second male lead is the living embodiment of that line. If his parents had spent more time with him, he wouldn't have devoted himself to chasing the heroine. The heroine is no saint. When she was little, she saw him lying soaked beside the pool. Afraid the adults would blame her, she pretended she had fallen into the water too. That allowed her to steal the credit from the little villainess who had risked her life to save him. The heroine's parents were looking after Julian back then, so he didn't know any better and became emotionally dependent on her. My father called my name several times to pull me out of my daze. Julian, I heard you didn't give those shares to the Sterling girl today. Feeling guilty, I murmured. Dad, I don't like her anymore. What should I do? My father smiled warmly. It doesn't matter. Give them to whoever you like. The Vance family can accept a daughter-in-law from any background, even a penniless girl. The comments chimed in. The second male lead has always been loved. He just couldn't see it. His parents never intended to use him for a business-marriage alliance. And then there's our gorgeous Villainess. She looks like she left, but she's actually lurking outside his house right now, keeping watch over him. She refuses to leave until the light in his room goes out. It's not an obsession. She just knows that once the party ends, there's no one home to keep him company. This is her way of silently staying by his side. I rushed to the window and opened it. Sure enough, beneath a street lamp outside the courtyard wall, a slender figure stood half-hidden in the shadows, fiddling with the ivy on the wall. She checked her watch, glanced up toward my room, and our eyes met. Chapter 5. Midnight Encounter. The instant our gazes locked, Seraphina instinctively covered her face, turned around, and began walking away. The comments laughed. Our queen of secret pining immediately turned and fled. To be fair, lurking outside someone's house is pretty hard to explain. Leaning out the window, I shouted, Seraphina, if you keep hiding every time you see me, then you'll never get to see me again. Her footsteps halted immediately. She stood under the moonlight with clenched fists, remaining completely silent. Why do you keep avoiding me like this? I asked. After a long pause, Seraphina replied in a subdued voice. Julian, you don't need to be curious about me. The comments laughed. You don't need to be curious about me. She must be secretly ecstatic that he's clinging to her now. Poor Villainess. She's terrified to let herself be happy. Realizing direct questioning wouldn't work, I changed tactics and let out a pained sigh. Fine. You're so heartless. I received so many gifts today, and the butler piled them up so messily that I can't even find the one you gave me. I just wanted you to come help me look for it. The comments cheered. Did anyone see her panicked expression when Julian called her heartless? Julian used one basic attack, and she's already down to her last sliver of health. Seraphina turned around slowly and whispered, All right, wait for me. Chapter 6, Clearing the Air. When I opened the front door, Seraphina froze. Her gaze traveled down my body from head to toe, and she swallowed hard. I realized I was shirtless, wearing only lounge shorts. Thinking she was uncomfortable, I grabbed a bathrobe from the sofa and threw it on. Seraphina lowered her eyes and murmured, I'm sorry. The comments exploded. The second male lead thinks she's uncomfortable with him showing skin, while the Villainess thinks he covered up because he was disgusted by her staring. Please voice your concerns. Anxious to clear up the misunderstanding, I took the bathrobe back off and said hurriedly, You don't have to apologize, Seraphina. I don't mind you looking. Seraphina stiffened, looking hurt. Young Master Vance, please don't make fun of me. The comments freaked out. The more he explains, the worse it sounds. She thinks he's mocking her and looks like she's about to cry. I caught her arm before she could leave. Wait, Seraphina, why would you think that? Do you really think I'm the kind of person who mocks people and plays with their feelings? Seraphina, do you hate me that much? Seeing my eyes redden, Seraphina panicked. No. Then what is it? I stared at her. Seraphina clenched her fists until her knuckles turned white, unable to voice her feelings. A comment flashed. Second male lead. Make a move. Just kiss her. Pry that stubborn mouth open, and she'll finally be honest. Taking her hand, I looked into her conflicted eyes and asked softly, Seraphina, could you kiss me? Seraphina froze completely. Chapter 7. Overwhelmed Emotions. The tension drained from her fists. Her dark eyes locked onto mine, and her breathing grew erratic. I stepped close, wrapped my arms around her waist, and lowered my head to kiss her. She tried to push me away at first, but I held her tight against me. Seraphina, I murmured against her lips. Julian, she whispered back, completely losing her restraint. She wrapped her arms around my neck and began kissing me back with desperate, long-suppressed longing. But the moment the kiss deepened, Seraphina seemed to snap awake from a dream. Her eyes widened with confusion and anguish. She shoved me away in a panic and fled the house. The comments groaned. She suppressed her feelings for so long that now that they're exposed, she doesn't know how to face him. The villainess genuinely thinks there's something wrong with herself because of how dark and twisted her secret obsession is. Hiring people to beat up Elena and hoarding stacks of photos of Julian. She's terrified he'll find out and hate her. Chapter 8. The Note and Elena's Return. The next morning at school, I found a small box inside my desk containing a rare, limited edition collectible charm I had wanted for ages, alongside a note written in neat handwriting. I'm sorry about what happened last night, but I'm willing to take responsibility for my actions. You may ask anything of me. When I looked over at Seraphina, she was hiding behind a textbook, hastily looking away when our eyes met. The comments explained, the villainess searched worldwide retailers to find that sold-out charm. Before, she was planning to secretly give it to Elena, so Elena could hand it to Julian, just to make Julian happy. I realized with a shock that every time Elena had hurt me in the past and mysteriously sent me the perfect gift to make amends, it had actually been Seraphina behind it all along. Smiling, I took out a sticky note, wrote, "All right then, how about becoming the Vance family's daughter-in-law?" and slipped it into Seraphina's hand. Before we could talk, classmates dragged me into the hallway, where Elena was waiting anxiously. "Julian Vance," Elena said, stepping forward. "Are you still angry? I was upset yesterday when you gave away my gift, and I lost control because I was jealous. I acted immaturely. I'm sorry, Julian." The comments immediately called her out. "Get lost. She only regrets it because she found out the gift was shares in the Vance family business. She's trying to defend her boyfriend Damien, whom Julian didn't invite to his party. What a fake, disgusting woman." Chapter 9. The Slap. Under Elena's expectant gaze, I smiled coldly. "Elena, don't be jealous. Go eat shit instead." The surrounding classmates gasped in shock. "Did you think I didn't know you liked someone else?" I continued. "Who are you putting on this act for? There's nothing between us. Stop harassing me." Furious at being humiliated, Elena grabbed my arm. "Julian, this stops being funny if you take it too far. Haven't you always wanted to marry me? I can ask my parents to arrange the marriage alliance right now. Who wants a marriage alliance with you? I wouldn't want you even if you threw yourself at me." Driven into a rage, Elena lunged forward, whispering venomously into my ear. "If you don't marry me, who will you marry? The Thorne family that went bankrupt 10 years ago? You're comparing me to someone who can barely afford tuition? Don't take this game too far." Seraphina stepped out and witnessed this close exchange, her face darkening. The comments urged. I want to slap her so badly. Taking the commenter's advice, I raised my free hand and slapped Elena hard across the face with a resounding crack. "Elena, do you not understand plain language? Stop harassing me. You disgust me. Everything our families own was built by our elders. What gives you the right to look down on the Thorne family? The only reason I was ever devoted to you was because you stole Seraphina's credit for saving my life. She's a million times better than you." Leaving everyone stunned, I pulled away and walked back toward the classroom. Chapter 10. The Knife at the Throat. Before I crossed the doorway, Elena grabbed me from behind with terrifying force, her face twisted in rage. "Julian, have you lost your mind? Do you really think I wouldn't dare hit you?" As we struggled, a dark shadow rushed past. Before I could react, Seraphina had Elena pinned against the stairwell wall. Seraphina held a gleaming knife pressed firmly against Elena's throat, drawing thin trails of blood. "He told you to get lost," Seraphina said in a chilling, emotionless voice. "Keep bothering him, and you die." Elena glared back, trembling. "You think you can kill me?" Seraphina pressed the blade deeper, letting blood trickle down. "Like you said, I have nothing. Someone like me has nothing to fear. The ruined daughter of a fallen family in exchange for the Sterling family's heiress. Why wouldn't I dare?" The comments cheered Seraphina's ruthlessness, but I rushed forward, terrified for Seraphina's future. "Seraphina, don't," I said. Seraphina turned to me, hurt flashing in her eyes. "You still care about her?" "No. I'm worried about you." I snatched the knife from her hand. "We live under the rule of law. Hurt someone and you go to prison. Kill someone and you pay with your life. I don't want that to happen to you." Seraphina's gaze softened as she released Elena. Elena fled in terror, and I took Seraphina by the hand and led her away. Chapter 11. Becoming Official. Following that incident, Elena stopped bothering me. Seraphina began walking me home from school every day under the guise of protecting me from lunatics. The comments teased, as if she only started walking him home today. Who do you think was secretly following and protecting him from shadows all these years? I stopped, swung Seraphina's hand gently, and winked at her. Seraphina, have you made up your mind about my request? Seraphina hesitated, her eyelashes fluttering. You mean? That's right. How about becoming the Vance family's daughter-in-law? The comments laughed at how I still thought Seraphina was a poor, helpless girl, joking that a truly broke girl could never afford to run underground operations or hire henchmen. Seraphina looked at me and asked, that day, when you told Elena she stole something from me, what did you mean? I sighed dramatically. Seraphina, you let her take credit for everything you ever did for me. If I hadn't found out, were you going to keep it a secret forever? I only chased Elena because I thought she saved me from the pool, but it was you all along. Why did you run away after saving me? Seraphina rubbed her nose bashfully. I sneaked into the party without permission back then. When I saw adults coming, I hid. But how did you find out? Just assume I saw it in a dream. I smiled mysteriously. What matters is my question. Are you going to accept or not? Looking into my eyes, Seraphina nodded gently. I would love to. Chapter 12. Flirting in the Cafeteria. At lunch the next day, I sat across from Seraphina in the cafeteria and said, Babe, why did you come to the cafeteria alone without waiting for me? Seraphina instantly choked on her food, coughing violently with a bright red face. I patted her back as she stammered. What did you just call me? Babe, didn't you agree to be my girlfriend? Are you having second thoughts? No, she whispered flusteredly, her ears burning. I'm just not used to it yet. Seeing how adorable she was, I moved right next to her and leaned in, then kissed me to prove it. Seraphina panicked, looking around. That's not a good idea here. I pouted playfully, bumping my shoulder against hers. Babe, please? Unable to resist my pleading look, Seraphina whispered softly. Later, can we go somewhere without people later? Whatever you say, babe. I grinned, while the comments laughed over how easily the scary villainess melted under a little bit of affection. Chapter 13. Elena's Trap and the True Leader. A period of sweetness followed, until one morning I walked downstairs to find no breakfast prepared. Instead, Elena was sitting calmly on my living room sofa. Elena? Who let you in? Get out, I demanded. When I called for bodyguards, Elena laughed smugly. Stop shouting, Julian. There is no one loyal to you left in this house. I looked around and noticed men dressed in black standing silently in every corner of the house. One of them immediately stepped up and snatched my phone away. Elena smiled maliciously. Hand over the Vance Group shares you plan to give me, and I'll leave. Otherwise, you're my captive. I hired the JS Syndicate, the most ruthless and resourceful organization in the Underworld. Even if your father investigates, there will be no evidence tying this to me. Before I could react, a sleepy voice drifted down from the upstairs hallway. Julian, is breakfast ready yet? Seraphina appeared at the top of the stairs in her lounge clothes. Seeing the intruders, she frowned coldly. Who allowed you to come here? Stand down. Elena sneered. Seraphina, open your eyes. Who do you think you are to give orders? I instinctively stepped forward to shield Seraphina, but the man in black beside me suddenly bowed deeply to her. Yes, boss. All the other men in black immediately stood at attention and bowed to Seraphina, rapidly briefing her on the contract. Chapter 14. The Syndicate's Secret. The comments exploded with laughter. Is the heroine an idiot? She hired the villainess's own subordinates to kidnap the villainess and her husband. JS Syndicate literally stands for Julian and Seraphina. It couldn't be more obvious. The villainess quietly built an entire empire from the ground up after her family's downfall, biding her time to protect Julian. Elena stood frozen in horror as Seraphina slowly walked down the stairs. Seraphina ordered her men to drag Elena away and instructed them to send the entire security recording of the incident directly to the Sterling family patriarch, ensuring Elena would lose all standing and power within her family forever. Desperate, Elena screamed from the doorway, Seraphina, all this for one man. Seraphina glanced back, her eyes sharp as razors. What do you mean, one man? He is the most important person in my life. Watch your mouth. The men dragged Elena out into the street. Once we were alone, Seraphina turned to me with deep guilt in her eyes. terrified that her dark underworld identity would make me despise her. Julian, I didn't mean to hide it from you. Seeing her eyes well up with tears, I gently cupped her cheek. Does the J in JS really stand for my name? Seraphina blushed and looked down. Yes. Just how long have you liked me? I asked softly. A very, very long time. Longer than you think, she whispered, leaning her head against my shoulder and tracing circles on my palm. Because you look beautiful when you smile. I just want to make you smile, and seeing you happy makes me happy. Blushing at her earnest confession, I pulled her close and whispered, words aren't enough. It only counts if you kiss me. Before I could finish, Seraphina pinned me against the sofa, cupping my face and kissing me deeply, while the floating comments celebrated the happy ending. Chapter 15. Meeting the Parents and Unraveling the Web. The morning after the incident with Elena, a lavish Blacktown car pulled into our driveway. My father had cut his international business trip short and rushed straight back home, accompanied by my mother. When they stepped into the foyer and saw Seraphina sitting calmly by my side at the dining table, my mother immediately gasped, hurrying over to grasp Seraphina's slender hands. You poor girl, we heard about everything, my mother said, tears shimmering in her eyes. When we learned how much you had suffered in silence over the years and how you were framed alongside your family, our hearts completely broke. Julian's father and I never cared about status or business alliances. All we ever wanted was someone who truly cared for our son. Seraphina froze, completely unused to warmth and maternal affection from elders. Her usual cold, formidable composure melted into pure bewilderment. Her cheeks flushed a deep crimson, and she glanced at me with wide, helpless eyes, clearly out of her depth. The floating comments surged across my vision in delight. Look at our terrifying Underworld syndicate boss turning into a shy little daughter-in-law in front of her in-laws. The Vance parents are literally the sweetest in-laws in fiction history. No toxic mother-in-law tropes here. Seraphina's brain has officially short-circuited from receiving unconditional love. Protect this precious family at all costs. My father sat across from us, placing a thick leather-bound dossier onto the glass table. Seraphina, the evidence your JS syndicate gathered regarding the Sterling family's corporate espionage and the framing of your late father 10 years ago has been reviewed by our legal team. With the Vance Group's backing and your intelligence network, we submitted the entire portfolio to federal authorities this morning. Seraphina's eyes widened slightly as she reached out to touch the dossier. The Thorne family name, it's finally cleared? Not only cleared, my father replied with a proud, warm smile. The Sterling assets that were unlawfully seized from your family 10 years ago are being fully restored to you. Furthermore, Elena Sterling's attempt at extortion and home invasion has resulted in her immediate arrest. Her family has publicly disowned her to save their remaining business reputation, but they won't escape investigation either. Justice has finally caught up with them. A heavy weight that Seraphina had carried on her shoulders for over a decade seemed to dissolve in an instant. Her fingers trembled faintly against the leather folder. I reached across the table, lacing my fingers tightly through hers, giving her a reassuring squeeze. The comments cheered enthusiastically. 10 years of suffering wiped clean in one conversation. The Villainess is officially a restored queen. Elena and Damien are totally finished. The male lead Damien tried to plead for Elena and got dragged down with her. Second male lead, hurry up and seal the deal. We want the wedding arc. Turning to my parents, Seraphina bowed her head with deep sincerity. Thank you, Uncle Annie. I will dedicate my entire life to protecting Julian and ensuring he never faces danger or sorrow again. My mother beamed, tapping Seraphina affectionately on the shoulder. Silly girl, why are you still calling us Uncle and Annie? You should start practicing calling us Mom and Dad. Seraphina's ears burned as bright as fresh cherries, burying her face into my shoulder as my parents laughed warmly. Chapter 16. The Syndicate's New Master. A few weeks later, Seraphina insisted on taking me to the official headquarters of the JS Syndicate. Located in a sleek, high-rise architectural marvel in the center of the financial district, the building looked like a legitimate multinational conglomerate from the outside, but the security and intelligence operations beneath were state-of-the-art. As we walked through the grand lobby hand in hand, rows of sharply dressed executives and elite operatives in dark suits instantly paused their work, standing at rigid attention before bowing in unison. Welcome, boss. Welcome, Master Julian. Their voices echoed in a synchronized chorus that shook the high ceilings. I blinked, taking in the sheer scale of the operation. The floating comments began streaming rapidly. Look at Julian trying to process that his aloof girlfriend is basically the undisputed queen of the underworld. He thought she was a broke kitten who needed his pocket money, but she owns half the city's intelligence network. Bow down to the power couple. This is the ultimate second male lead upgrade. Seraphina led me into the executive boardroom on the top floor, where the syndicate's top division commanders were gathered. She sat in the high-backed leather chair at the head of the table, pulled me down directly onto the seat beside her, and placed a golden signet ring and a master access ledger in front of me. "What is this?" I asked, looking between the heavy ring and her dark, focused eyes. "The JS Syndicate was built for you, Julian," Seraphina stated evenly, her tone leaving no room for argument. "From the day my family fell, every asset I claimed, every contact I cultivated, and every operation I ran had one singular purpose: to amass enough absolute power to keep you safe and happy, no matter what enemies you faced. Without you, this organization has no reason to exist. Today, all authority is formally transferred to your name." The division commanders bowed again without a single shred of hesitation or rebellion, their loyalty to her decisions absolute. The comments went into absolute hysterics. She built a multi-billion-dollar underworld empire just as a safety net for her crush. The sheer romantic devotion. The heroine could never compare to this level of loyalty. "Julian, if you don't spoil this woman for the rest of your days, we the audience will riot." I stared at the ring, then looked up at Seraphina's earnest, beautiful face. Instead of taking the ring for myself, I picked it up, took Seraphina's left hand, and slid the ring onto her middle finger before kissing the back of her hand. "I don't need to rule the syndicate, babe," I whispered with a tender grin. "You are the queen here. I just want to be the one who takes care of the queen when she comes home exhausted. The syndicate belongs to both of us, just like our names say." Seraphina's breath hitched. In front of all her hardened underworld commanders, the ruthless boss turned bright pink, her lips quivering as she desperately tried to maintain a stoic facade. "Julian, not in front of my subordinates," she whispered under her breath, completely flustered. "Why not?" I asked playfully, leaning closer until my breath brushed her ear. "Are you telling me the supreme boss can command thousands of operatives, but can't handle a little affection from her boyfriend?" The commanders discreetly coughed and looked away at the ceiling, pretending to inspect the light fixtures, while the comments flooded the room with digital laughter and hearts. The subordinates are pretending to be blind to save their lives. Julian completely domesticated the final boss with pure sunshine energy. Chapter 17. A Forever Under the Floating Stars. 1 year later, the Thorne and Vance families hosted the grandest wedding ceremony the city had ever witnessed. The oceanfront cathedral was adorned with thousands of white lilies and silver ivy, attended by prominent business titans, diplomats, and discreet rows of JS Syndicate guards ensuring absolute serenity. Damien and Elena had long since faded into total obscurity following their public downfall, leaving behind nothing but quiet peace for our lives. Standing at the altar in a tailored white tuxedo, my heart pounded against my ribs. The grand cathedral doors swung open, and the breath left my lungs completely. Seraphina walked down the aisle on the arm of our family elders, dressed in a breathtaking lace gown that trailed behind her like stardust. Her dark hair was woven with delicate pearls, and for the first time since I had known her, the cold, defensive armor around her demeanor was entirely gone. Beneath her veil, her gaze was soft, radiant, and fixed solely upon me. Above her head, the floating comments drifted past in glowing, golden letters, clearer and gentler than they had ever been before. She finally got her happy ending after 10 years of silent pining. The second male lead didn't become tragic fodder. He chose the girl who loved him with her whole soul. They saved each other from a miserable script and wrote their own destiny. Goodbye, Julian and Seraphina. Live happily ever after. As Seraphina reached the altar, I lifted her veil and held both of her hands. Her eyes were shimmering with unshed tears of pure joy. "You look breathtaking, my silly savior," I whispered softly. "And you look far too handsome for your own good, young Master Vance," she murmured back, a radiant smile finally gracing her lips. "Are you sure you won't regret tying yourself to a dangerous villainess for the rest of your life?" "Not a chance in hell." I smiled, repeating the exact words I told her on the day our story changed. "I will love you through every chapter, every comment, and every day of my life." When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, I didn't wait for another second. I pulled Seraphina into my arms, dipping her slightly as I captured her lips in a deep, passionate kiss. The cathedral erupted into deafening cheers and applause from our families, friends, and loyal followers. In that perfect moment, the golden floating comets faded into shimmering sparks of light, slowly dissolving into the air one by one until my vision was entirely clear, leaving only the warmth of Seraphina's embrace and a lifetime of shared happiness ahead of us.